What's up? This is Alex Chu coming at you with another episode. This episode, I just want to talk about, let's see, talk about why there are so many homeless people nowadays, okay? And how to fix the homeless situation. Oh yeah, this is the first video of year 2023 for me, okay? Today is January 7th, 2023. What's in the news? Yeah, Russia, they want 3 days of ceasefire, right? But then Ukraine, Ukraine just kept on attacking. But before I talk about that, I want to tell you, my name is Alex Chu. I'm the guy who invented physical mortality rings. These are rings that you put on your small finger straight sleep. You wear them, you don't age anymore. For example, in 1 month, exactly 1 month, I'll be 52. 52 years old. See, I'm still pretty slim, right? You can tell my voice didn't change. My face didn't really change. You know how older people, when they get older, their nose become bigger, or their earlobes would grow bigger. You don't see nothing like that on me, right? I look pretty much the same, you know. If you're interested, you go to livemuchlonger.com. I have lots of testimonials on my website. Most of them give me 4-star, 5-star. Interested? Go livemuchlonger.com. Livemuchlonger.com. Okay. Yeah. I want to talk about a homeless situation in the United States. You know, how come there are so many homeless people nowadays? It's because I'm telling you, it's not because economy is bad. I don't think so. It's because people's living habits has changed. You know, there are mainly two reasons. One reason is because landlords are scared of tenants nowadays. Landlords are just so afraid of tenants nowadays. Okay. Another reason is because people's social behavior has changed a lot. You know, back in the days, you enjoy other people's company. You enjoy speaking to other people. Nowadays, you go on the bus, nobody speak to you anymore. Nowadays, everybody looking at their own cell phone, right? You go on the bus, everybody's so quiet. You know, it's like people are more close, more conservative nowadays. They don't enjoy the existence of other people anymore. So you could imagine if you have a house, you don't want to part it out. You don't want to rent extra rooms to people, you know, because you simply don't enjoy that anymore. Let's talk about the first reason, okay? Landlords are so afraid of tenants, okay? Oh, and after this, after I give you two reasons, explain why, and then I will give you a solution of how to fix homelessness, okay? One reason is because landlords are so afraid of tenants nowadays. See, back in the days, you know, 1950s, 1960s, or even all the way to 1990s, right? It's easier to rent out rooms to tenants. You know, let's say you have a house, you want to rent out an extra room to a tenant. It's really easy. Just put an ad on the newspaper, right? Somebody come look at the room, you know, pay you a deposit. You know, back in the days, it's just 1 month's deposit, or even no deposit. Back in the days, it's easy to rent a room. You walk in, right? You walk in the house, you look like a gentleman. They'll rent the room to you. You don't even have to pay deposit. Back in the days, it's like that, you know? Because back in the days, there were tenants associations. There were lawyers that fight for the tenants, you know? But not every tenant is like that back in the days. Back in the days, all the tenants, they just want to come to rent a room at your house, you know? And be acquainted with you. You know, if seems like you're a nice person, you're a nice landlord. Okay, I'm a gentleman too. I just want to rent a room from your house. Everybody's happy, right? If we're not happy, like if I rent a room from you, you don't like me or I don't like you, then I move out. It's that simple. Back in the days, it's like that, you know. And there are tenants associations that lawyers that fight for the tenants, but most tenants don't think about that stuff. You know, most tenants landlord don't like me or I don't like the landlord, I just move out, right? I just, you know, pay you last month's rent, I move the shit out, you know, just move everything out. But nowadays, every tenant is a genius. Every tenant is a fucking genius. You know why? Because every tenant has access on the internet. Every tenant is like a super genius. You know, every tenant is like a paralegal nowadays. You know, it's like they rent a room, right? They rent a room from a landlord, and all they do is they go online. They look at tenants associations or go to certain lawyers' websites, right, to look at all the information, how to sue the landlord, how to take advantage, how to sue the landlord, how to fight the landlord. Do landlords have rights to put notes on my door and shit like that? So every tenant nowadays is a fucking genius. You could imagine the landlords, they're just so afraid of tenants nowadays. So a lot of landlords, especially small mom and pop landlords, they got out of the market. For example, like me, I live in a 2,700 square feet house, right? My house is pretty huge, comes for somebody who lives in the Bay Area. I have six rooms in my house, but only me and my other friend live in this whole house. There's only two persons living in this whole house. And that other friend of mine, he has been my roommate for 30 years, so I trust him very much. And I don't want to rent out my rooms to anybody. I mean, in the future, I might rent a room to a relative. That's about it. A relative could live with me. That's about it. But I'm not gonna rent to no strangers, man. You one wrong move, you rent to one wrong person, you're dead. You're gonna be in legal trouble. Can you imagine? I have cats too. I have cats too. So my fear is that tenants will complain about the fleas. I have flea problems I have flea issues, right? Tenants will complain about the fleas, and then go online to check like, these tenant supports, tenants association. Can I sue my landlord over fleas and shit? Nowadays you get a lot of those kind of frivolous lawsuits, a lot. So it's not worth it. Even if somebody is willing to pay me $1,000 for one room, sorry, it's not worth it. I'm just afraid. I'm afraid of tenants. Especially nowadays, the progressives, the far left Democrats are taking over, right? And they have even in Oakland or I'm not sure San Francisco, but in Oakland they have like eviction moratorium. It's still effective nowadays. Man, we've been struggling with COVID for 3 years. Eviction moratorium in Oakland is still effective. In LA, it's still effective. They don't pay rent, you cannot kick that person out. It's fucking ridiculous. So you tell me, who dares to rent an extra room to some stranger? Nobody. If you like, who dares to rent out an empty apartment to a total stranger? You just don't dare to do it. It's just because it's not worth the trouble. Okay. Second reason is this. Second reason is it's not. This is not like back in the 1950s or 60s or even the 90s. It's not like back in the era of Three's Companies. Someone knocking the door, we'll be waiting for you. It's not like that anymore. It's not the Seinfeld era. Seinfeld era, right? You walk into the apartment and then you see your half naked friend, standing in front of you, want to borrow $50 from you. Nowadays, people don't enjoy company. People don't enjoy each other's company. For example, like me, I don't miss my friends at all. I used to hang out with friends. Like that was more than 10 years ago. Now I'm just all alone by myself. I don't have friends. But I'm okay with it. You know why? Because computer is my friend. Nowadays, it's like I don't need to speak to somebody. I don't need that anymore. Nowadays, I mean, you just go on YouTube and there's so many little channels on YouTube, right? Billions of channels on YouTube. And they all talk about different subjects, right? Let's say, oh, I want to talk about, I don't know, relatives. I want to talk about relative issues. I want to talk about marriage. I want to talk about this, talk about that. I could always go on YouTube, find what I want to hear, find the things that I want to hear, right? So it's equal to me speaking to somebody, right? So nowadays, it's like everybody, I go on a bus, right? I mean, I haven't ride the bus for a long time, but I can see on YouTube, when you go on the bus, everybody's looking at their own cell phones nowadays. See, back in the days, back in when I was younger, when I was the teenager, you sit on the bus, hey, somebody will speak to you, like total stranger would just open up and speak to you. I'm not joking. Back in the days, I'm not sure. See, younger people don't know, but back in the days, When I was a teenager, okay, that was in the 80s and the 90s. You go on the bus, right? Hey, you know what? People will just turn around and speak to you, for no reason at all. Okay, you don't know that person doesn't know you, and somebody would talk to you like, oh, I like your T-shirt, or just I don't know, it just back in the days it's like that. Okay, especially uh, poor people. Like I don't know, it's just you go on buses back in the days, right? Those some poor person would speak to you and shit. It just because people back in the days they enjoy each other's company. You know what I'm saying? Because back in the days is the only entertainment is radio or TV. You go on you go home, you watch TV. You have to wait for a certain hour, right? If you want to watch the Tonight Show, it will be 10 o'clock, right? You have to turn to a certain channel, wait at that certain hour. You watch the Tonight Show, then you have to you also have to tolerate all the commercials that runs with the Tonight Show, right? And after tonight, you watch the Tonight Show. That's it. No more shows. And it's time for you to go to sleep, or maybe I don't know. Maybe speak to somebody. You know what I'm saying? Call your friend on the telephone, or maybe knock on your roommate's door and chit chat with him a little bit. That's like back in the days. That's entertainment. But nowadays, who needs that? Nobody needs it anymore. I don't even want to speak to it. I live with this guy. I have a roommate, right, that I live with right now. I don't even speak to that guy anymore. Only time I speak to him is because I have something that he didn't pay rent. He paid me rent late, or I have something I have to tell him. It's like that's the only time I will ever speak to my friend. Nowadays, I don't even speak to him anymore. So, but I'm totally fine with it. I mean, YouTube is my friend. You know what I'm saying? YouTube is my buddy. I don't need nobody else except YouTube. So nowadays, everyone's like that. You go on a bus, everybody's looking at their own cell phone. You don't see people speaking to each other nowadays. That's the difference between, the Seinfeld era and today's era. So back in the days, you could imagine a landlord like me, right? I have few extra rooms in my house, and I'm lonely, right? I mean, all I get to see is the Tonight Show. I get to listen to radio. I have no other form of entertainment, or the only other entertainment is maybe movies. Go to the movies or go to a club or something. So it would be then I want to rent out my room. You understand? I want to rent out a room to somebody my age. Somebody closer to my age, right? Somebody who I believe I could deal with, right? Or maybe rent out to a girl. I don't know. It's just to gain entertainment. You understand? But nowadays, who would do that? Who would rent out an extra room for entertainment purpose? Nobody. Nobody will rent out a room thinking about entertainment. Like, oh yeah, I rent out a room so that person will keep me acquainted or keep me, you know, uh, quench my loneliness. No, no, no. Nobody does that nowadays. You're lonely? Go online. Go to YouTube. Watch some YouTube channels, right? You don't want to rent out to some stranger, you know. So I think homeless issue it would only continue. And the only way to fix homeless issue is to do it like Japan. Japan they have lots of capsule hotels. Yeah, I don't know if you know capsule hotels. It's like the rooms are so small, right? It's basically a coffin-sized room. You climb into that little port. It's like you climb into that little port. So every it's like they can fit many many beds in one small space. Only way to fix homeless issue is government has to build lots and lots of these capsule hotels. And basically allow homeless people to live inside these capsule hotels, or even mini size apartments, like really really small apartments. I'm not talking about mini homes. I'm talking about whole building. Like 20-story tall, 30 stories tall building. Inside it's just mini apartments. They're so small. The apartment's so small they look like closets. You open a door, it's a closet, and you sleep inside. That's it. In the future, that's the only way to fix a homeless issue. Government basically rent it out, okay, at a certain price. Like mini apartment. If you rent it, okay, $150. If you rent a capsule room, $100 a month, like that. That's like the only way to fix homeless issue. I don't see how how I don't see what else they can do. And one thing good about these mini apartments or capsule hotel is there's no there's no like private kitchen. You want to eat something, you go to the cafeteria and you order whatever you want. And then the government can charge you very low fees. Like government, it's a government owned capsule hotel or government owned mini apartment complex, right? A mini apartment complex, government run, government owned, and then they charge you very low rent, and then you can they also charge you very low price for food. That's like the only way. So maybe in the future, like somebody who has nowhere to go, he could survive with $300. If government at a government run, government owns facility, a person can survive with just $300. $300 a month, food and rent included. That's like the only way. I don't see any other way out. But anyway, that's all I want to say for this episode. Hope you guys enjoy my channel. I'll talk to you guys later.